I am always trying to find lures and presentations that are working as close to 100% of the time as possible, and that means from the initial drop all the way back to us standing on the shoreline or standing in the boat. The more the lure and presentation is working, the odds of catching a fish go way up. Well, this little bait right here checks all the boxes that I look for. I had not used it before as a Ned Rig bait, and this thing is awesome. But here's what I look for as far as what I want my Ned Rig lure to be doing. Number one, it has to have the option, or give me the option, to fall slowly. A traditional Ned Rig bait, the small little stick bait, falls through the water column really fast. And that works great when you want to trigger some bites in clear water. It can be dynamite, exactly what the bass are looking for. But if I have a little more stain in the water, or I'm starting to drop this lure through some vegetation, some sparse grass, I want it to drop a little bit slower so it doesn't disappear on the bass too fast. These claws right here resist the water enough that the drop is nice and slow. And the next thing that I look for when my lure actually hits the bottom, I want it to stand up. So many lures will just fall right over to the side. Now, the traditional Elastec Ned Rig lures stand up great. They stand up all the time. But this one, the way the claws resist the water, it like guides it, and it just lands perfectly on this head almost every single time. I'd hop this like 10 times, like 8 or 9 times it would land exactly the way that I want it to. And this leads me right into my next point. If there is a place that I'm fishing that has a lot of debris on the bottom, which are most of the places I fish, when you've got a lure that stands up like this, it can be seen better. If you've got all kinds of leaves, if you got chara grass, just moss, whatever it might be, a traditional stick bait can get buried up in this stuff real easily, and it's not as easy for the fish to pick out. But with this little craw bait, the profile is just wide enough that it does two things for us. One, it can be seen a little bit easier, and two, it's more likely that a stick or a leaf or some grass is going to kind of catch those claws and help hold it upright. Really important, at least in what I look for a Ned Rig bait. The next thing that I want it to do is, if I decide to crawl it back to me, it needs to look very lifelike. Well, we've gone over soft plastic craws before on this channel. They look amazing when you crawl them back slowly, so it's going to be working for me in that part of the presentation as well. And the last thing that I'm looking for is, if I want to, in that last part of the retrieve, instead of just winding in and making another cast, I can swim it back. Well, a craw swims really nicely through the water column, and this does something for me as an angler. It lets me know between the drop and the sitting still and the crawling and the swimming back, the bass tell me what they want, as opposed to me trying to make them eat something that maybe that they're not interested in. That gives us a ton of information. If I'm swimming this back in the last part of my cast and I start to get some follows, start to get some strikes, well, that tells me there's probably something better that I could be using to fit this situation. Links to this lure can be found down below. And hey, if you want to watch a video about a bass behavior underwater that I have never witnessed before, go ahead and check this one out right here. And make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.